Well, welcome to our live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Um, YouTube does take it seriously and they will restrict you or remove you if you don't. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is a song that I wrote. It's near the beginning of this period of writing. I've had different periods dating back to almost public school. It was stored in boxes in my father's basement where they were kept, and because I had other things to do, like raising my boys and working and doing all the other things people do. And fortunately, when I first started in the music business, I did sing at roller skating rinks, ice skating rinks, local stuff, and in Mexico a couple times. A friend of mine who played the saxophone, and you're just 2-man band, but people liked us, and they clapped and cheered and wanted some more. So we basically did a bit of soul music in those days because that's what the older kids were into. And so we've had a fair bit of live experience, but unfortunately, car accidents, aneurysms, football accidents, stuff like this all threw that off, and then the responsibilities of life took place. I did try writing for about 5 years to make some money out of it, and I did for a while, with small publications, underground papers, you might say. The war in Vietnam was going on, so there was, even in Canada, there was people that had their opinions on the politics of it, and they tried to express it through these smaller magazines, these smaller venues, coffee shops. You buy a coffee and a piece of cake, carrot cake. I guess it was kind of famous. First time I ever had it was in a coffee shop in Vancouver. It was good. And then you come to today when we're putting together music. It's a different sort of world. The venues aren't as numerous as they used to be. There's not 4 or 5 bands in the same town competing with each other for fans or getting record deals or whatever you want to call it. Radio stations, by and large, from what I heard, are owned by large corporations. We're back in the, even in the 90s, there's a lot of independent stations. So if they liked a song, they would play it. And they didn't need approval from somebody that was running 100 stations. So all 100 stations ran the same songs. This way, gave independent musicians, new musicians, a break and a chance to get heard. And if people liked the music, like the singer, we would have not necessarily a hit, but at least we would get some airtime, and that exposed his potential audience to his music. So that was good. Now we have what we call streaming services, and I know people say, oh, that was all the result of Napster, and that's where people were stealing the music for free. Some people, even streaming's not a good choice either, because if you're a small musician, you are basically playing for free when if you're doing a venue, if you got 100 people coming in to see you, then you'd probably make enough money to at least pay your rent for a week. And that here now, you can have thousands and thousands of people listen to your music and not get paid anything unless they buy it, and download it digitally. And if there's enough interest, like for me, they would put it out in, any of the other three physical formats, like vinyl, USBs, and even in CDs, if that's what you would like. Or if you wanted to sell them in your own store, like in the physical store, just let me know, and you can order them in batches of 100, I guess, and then we can see how it goes. And certainly be interested in doing that with you. Okay, so back to the song. I've written up the lyrics here because it's easier for me to talk about a song if I got it right in front of me, because it's we do a lot of music, and some of it's in Filipino, and that's translated by my wife, and sometimes altered from the lyrics that I give her. I give her an original translation, and she works it out so it sounds right for Filipinos. Okay, so we do have a lot of stuff out. So it's always nice to look at the be accurate. Now, in verse 1, I'm saying, I sit back and watch the world unfold, tech taking over, stories left untold. Yeah, many stories don't get told in this tech society. We think they're being told because everybody has the freedom to, make comments on X or one of the other Reddit, one of the other platforms, and yes, they do get heard by a small group of people, the ones that are interested in that subject, which is good. It allows freedom of expression. I think it's an excellent thing that technology has done. It's also allowed more people to do music if they have the talent for it. And so, it's a good thing in that way. But in other ways, it's sort of change things in a way that is not as not good for everybody. And it's like any change. I remember when they were changing from having secretaries in their offices to having word processors. They figure, well, now the boss can do the word processing. He doesn't need the secretary anymore, unless you're one of the top guys, where your time is very, very expensive as far as the company's concerned. So they didn't want you typing up your notes or whatever. They didn't have somebody else do it for you. But most managers and middle managers and that had to do it themselves. They had a word processor now, and the secretary was gone, and hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of women got laid off from that. All had to go back to school or retrain and try to get back into the workforce. Well, the same thing is happening now, but this time it's with AI doing the same thing. And, it's creating a problem because if they're not creating jobs for people to do, like Amazon having, let's say, 1 million robots, that's 1 million jobs people don't do, or maybe 5 million people in warehouses or whatever. Maybe that's not the kind of job you're looking for. Your parents told you you're going to university and that. The good paying job's good anytime. If you can at least buying a house and establishing yourself in the community and that. So, I've seen people that with education go back to community college in order to get a trade or a technology that they could use and give them a wage that was half decent, whereas in some cases, their university education didn't give them that. And at the same time, I've seen shortages of labor, and which makes getting any repairs done, houses built, whatever, expensive because governments are looking, let's bring in university students from other countries. And we're not given the same opportunity to tradespeople or farmers. And, these are basic things that we do need, whether we're technologically advanced or not. We still need farms. We still need food. We still need people to fix roofs or build roofs, do the plumbing, do the electricity, and all these things. And we should be training people to do it. It shouldn't be a side thought where you pay for a few tools or that. And we should, we got a shortage of them. We should subsidize them, and we should do it with people living in their own communities. Anyways, there's so much going on, and the tech sometimes is not, because it's like living in the Wild West, as my wife said the other day. It's sort of a free for all. There's no, there seems to be no guidance, or from governments are lagging behind or sitting back doing nothing sometimes, and hoping everything's going to work out, that their philosophy of change is the right one, and that's how it's going to work. Well, it doesn't work out that way, as anybody that's looked at history. Anyways, we're not going to get into that today. So customs are shifting like the sands in the sea. I can't find my footing. Where's the old me? Laws rewritten, rules up in the air. Feels like everyone's running somewhere. But I'm standing here, frozen in time, trying to figure out this intricate rhyme. So the person speaking here is finding that very difficult to see what's going on. He feels frozen in time, that the changes are happening too fast for him to deal with. And if we look at the millions, I guess, in North America that are homeless now, you can see how many people have been displaced by technology, by governments not building housing that they could afford, letting inflation run wild because they want to pay off their debts, and that's their priority, not their inflating things is their priority, not trying to keep inflation down so they can people can afford to live. So they end up homeless. They end up homeless, and then they're desperate. And a lot of times they turn to crime because there's no alternative. If they want to eat, they have to steal or take it from somebody. And so it creates another problem. Whereas having housing for them, and not even if it's low cost housing, even if it's subsidized by the government, or what they used to do in the 60s in some places, from what I heard, is they give a 30-year mortgage, and the mortgage would be fixed for 30 years, not for 5 years and change. So people have to go bankrupt and lose their house after 5 years. And I think the only person that gets an advantage from that is the banks, not the consumers, and why governments let these things happen, usury, as they used to call it in the churches, and they still do, is not, doesn't make sense to me unless they get some feedback, kickbacks, maybe, for doing it like that. Because it doesn't help the people that voted them. Because if you own a house and suddenly it goes from 3% to 9% or something like that, and you're trying to pay it off, it's gone. There's one politician nearly got passed in Canada, a law saying that housing is a human right, and it should be. Not a speculative thing where investment is largely from these corporation and pension funds, because they know it's a sure thing, or it used to be. And they invest in the houses, and their only interest is in profit and not housing people. Whereas the housing was actually for people to live in, so they could raise their families and their kids. And a lot of people are saying today, "Oh, I can't afford to have kids. I can't even afford to have pets anymore because the cost of living has gone sky high." And that's when you got to say, "Look, let's do something different." So we're getting a bit off the topic, because when I was writing the song, I was thinking about the music industry. And it was the first time I was in at this level, and the first time I was getting into a digital world. As opposed to an analog world where you put it on a CD, and then you took it to sent them out to the stores, and they would sell them, by a certain amount, and and you make a living that way. This time, nowadays, you go to the distributor and they put it on online, and then changing rules and shifting sands and algorithms that are changing all the time because they're modeling them. They're using AI to change some. There's a little bit of lack of consistency there. What you signed up for 10 years ago or 5 years ago may not be the same 5 or 10 years later. And we're getting into 18 minutes, so I guess I'm getting off the topic. So you see the youth blaze trails like fire, the way they dress and dreams they aspire, but I'm lost in a static I cannot conform. Fashion may change, but this feels like a storm. Yesterday's wisdom is fading away. I'm tangled in questions. Can't find my own way. What are we to be in this endless chase, just searching for peace in a brand new space? So, and then the chorus kicks in where we're asking, can someone help me without strings attached? Because I found when I got in the music industry, everybody had strings attached. If you ask them questions or ask them for help, there's always, they always wanted to get paid. there wasn't a comradeship that you normally find in the music industry. But I did make friends, and I'm glad for that. And we've done some things together. We tried to raise money for coats and, and try to raise money for the disasters in the Philippines. And we'll continue to do that when time permits. And when we have a venue where we can do it, we even volunteered to go down to Michigan and sing whistles and guns. So we're not sitting back and taking it easy. We want to be involved in the community. We want to be involved with you. We want to know your stories and hear your concerns. And so we're saying, can someone help me without strings attached? Fan clubs, playlists, things like that. They're really helping musicians. Otherwise, you got to pay somebody that's already got a curated playlist, and if he likes it or she likes it, then you get on the list, and all this stuff costs money. And when the streaming stations aren't paying you any money, it gets very expensive. So you're playing to pay, and that's rather than playing to earn. And it should be the other way around. It should be playing to earn. Seems like an upside down story sometimes. So we don't. So without selling dreams or a plan to dispatch, just a little guidance, a light for the night. In a world gone crazy, where's wrong and right? Can someone help me, please? Help my plea. I'm lost in the change, so won't you set me free? Yeah, it's a plea by the two characters in the that are singing the song, a duet, and it's sort of based, soul based, like I mentioned earlier. That's what we used to sing in our neighborhood. Though, through a few years, of course, you're exposed to a lot of different kinds of music as well, not just soul music. But at one time, it was a big splash in the scene, so that's what people did because that's what other people did, and that's what people came to listen to. So the third verse, every news flash feels like a twist of the knife, wondering where the truth fits in this life, with boundaries erased and lines getting blurred, try to keep up, but it's all just absurd. I'm looking for answers, but they come at a cost. With each shifting moment, a piece of me lost. What's real anymore? Am I out of the loop? And that's how it felt at that time. So felt like I'm drowning in a never-ending scoop. And we'll let you listen to the rest of the song yourselves, because that's what the music is for. I could play some for you, but I don't know if you could hear it on the. They're not really just a webcam situation here. With no big studio or something to explain the situation to everyone. So anyone here with questions? Anybody else want to talk? Or I don't see any questions. And well, thank you for coming or listening. And if you listen to it later, it will be stored in my profile. I will not be erasing it. I'm glad that, and if you do and you have questions, just text me, write me. I think I give you my email address and my profile. Just check that out. I got posts, probably over 50 now, that you can read and get more information that way, or you can leave questions there. YouTube will notify me and I will try to answer them best I can. And if you have a topic you want me to talk about, or a song you would like to know the background to, or anything people seem to expect from a musician whose music they enjoy, yeah, please do. And okay, I will say goodbye and talk to you later. If I can figure out how to say goodbye. Okay. So thank you for coming.